as those lemons come to you, you make the personal decision that you're lemonade making, not taking the sour lemons.
Good morning. Welcome to another Motivational Monday. My name is Matthew Hodge, Executive Vice President here at LPT Realty, joining you from LPT headquarters here in Lake Mary, Florida. And I'm going to bring in Robert Palmer, founder and CEO, who's joining us from Montana. You will be there for just a couple more weeks. And so you're getting the last little bit of your cool weather and hopefully some snow. I think you guys had some snow last week too, right?
We did. We had a really great weekend of snow. We got dumped on. It was fantastic. So great weekend of skiing with the girls. We're rocking my LPTA jacket here. I think we're probably going to put these in the VIP swag bags at FallCon. So we're going to be talking a little about FallCon today. But yeah, man, it's exciting. Exciting. Again, wrapping the season up out here, ready to get back to Florida and get to it. A lot of exciting things coming up on the horizon. We've got SpringCon, which I'm pretty sure is sold out at this point. I know there's some people trying to get us to add a few extra chairs. Maybe we'll be able to do that. But SpringCon's coming up, sold out there. And just a lot of exciting stuff. And then we're going to talk about FallCon today. And we're also going to get into what we all do when life throws us curveballs. This idea of making lemonade out of lemons, because we have gotten a massive curveball as we sit here with interest rates doing a complete reversal from where we were 2 weeks ago. The beard is long. I don't know. We're going to get into that. But yeah, man, this weekend was fantastic. Probably the last good skiing we're going to have, because we're actually supposed to have a heat wave. Well, we're calling a heat wave out here. It's going to get into like the 60s and 70s next week.
Oh, okay.
So, that's a heat wave here in the mountains when it's supposed to be snowing.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy that you had the last chance to get a little bit of a run in before that heat wave comes and takes away. I know you really enjoy that time with your family. We're going to go through all that stuff. We're going to go through market update. We'll touch on FallCon, but real quick, we want to do some brokerage updates and start off with broker of the month.
One of our great brokers, multiple states up there, doing a great job for agents in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Kind of a newer member of the team, but in the short period of time he's been here, he's done an absolutely amazing job. Lots of great feedback from the agents in those states. Mark, thanks for all your hard work. And a big shout out to all of our amazing corporate team, everybody here working hard behind the scenes for our LPT family of agents. And a special shout out to Mark. Congratulations on being the February broker of the month.
Lewis and I had the opportunity of meeting him when we were up north a couple of months ago, and he came through. He was wearing a sharp 3-piece suit. My man looked so good. So we were so excited to finally meet him in person. So congratulations, Mark. Okay, so you alluded to some of the things that are happening with this whipsaw, with the interest rates and things just going totally bonkers. Like, what is happening now? Where are we at?
Again, I mean, what a reversal a couple of weeks can make. I did not have Middle Eastern war on my bingo card, 2 weeks ago when we were so excited that rates were getting into the high fives. The 10-year treasury got below 4, like everything we needed to absolutely line up for boom state to hit directly in line with the spring buying season. Like we were staring down a dream scenario. And now we sit here 14 days later. I haven't touched a razor in 2 weeks. The headlines in the news are all against us right now. Mortgage rates spiked to 2026 highs. I saw another version of this that said mortgage rates hit their highest level in 7 months. Mortgage rates surged to highest since September, hitting the spring housing market. High oil prices are not good for mortgage rates, economists say. What home buyers should know. And so again, we're now in this situation where we were week after week after week of positive headlines for our industry, right? Positive headlines for more home buyers and home sellers to finally get off of the fence. And now those headlines have completely turned against us. And so, one, we're going to talk about what this means, but then more importantly, we're going to talk about what we do as entrepreneurs when these types of events happen, right? When life throws us lemons, when things don't go as planned. Because again, I think a whole lot of us thought we were about to get hot, right? We were ready. I know we were prepared. We were making moves. And now as entrepreneurs, there are decisions we have to make. Now, this doesn't mean we give up. It doesn't mean we stop working, but we do have to modify, right? We do have to adjust because, we were starting to shift gears and get into this. All right, let's get ready to start having more showings, to start taking more listings, to start processing more transactions. And now we got to get back in a little bit of, prime the pump mode, right? Doing the other work, the work that helps us get ready for when things finally do get here and get hot. And it's going to be interesting to see. because we did see a lot of folks come off the sideline in that brief window when all the headlines were in our favor. And my gut says we're going to see some pullback, but we don't know how dramatic that pullback is going to be. And so, Hodge, I think it's a great opportunity for us to just kind of talk through like when that happens, right? You and I have talked about this a lot. We've been friends for a long time. We talk a lot about, one of the things I really try to stay focused on as an entrepreneur is that when I get those curveballs, when life gives me lemons, I am cooking up lemonade recipes, right? Like that is, whenever something goes wrong, my first instinct, and this is something I've had to learn after a lot of years of entrepreneurship, is you got to look for, all right, how am I going to make the best lemonade that anyone has ever tasted in their life with these lemons that life just threw at me? And that's what I think we all have to focus on, because we're not quite there yet, but I'm going to put this in the lemon category, right? We are, again, we did not think we'd be here. I thought we'd be seeing, massive mortgage demand, massive housing demand, lots of sellers coming out of the sidelines. So we're going to put this in the category of lemons, but we all have a responsibility as entrepreneurs to stay focused. And I want you to have that visualization, like anything that's going wrong, right? Because you're going to deal with it on a micro level and a macro level. You're going to have that one home buyer who is trying to pull out of a contract right now because mortgage rates jumped up so dramatically. Or you're going to have that one seller who maybe signed a listing agreement and now they're calling you and saying, hey, I don't want to list right now. I want to cancel. I'm going to stay put because of these mortgage rates or because of this uncertainty in the Middle East right now. Or maybe someone who's lost their job because of AI. We've started to see layoffs in big tech. Because of the AI coding improvements. There's been lots of headlines, Facebook cutting staff, Block cutting staff, Jira, Atlassian, the company that owns Jira, cutting staff, like a lot of staff being cut. And it's interesting because usually when we end up in a recession, those aren't the jobs that get hit. We have not really seen a tech recession since you go back to like the .com bubble burst. And so tech recession, these are higher income earners. A lot of them don't necessarily have a lot of savings. It's going to be interesting to see what happens as I would say the kind of lower income, middle income earners are getting hit with high gas prices. They're getting hit with credit card debt. We're seeing debt at higher levels. And so there's just a lot of things happening right now. And so what I want you to think about is when you get that news, right? When that person reaches out to you, how are you going to take those lemons and turn them into lemonade? And when it happens, I want you to think about that, right? The minute that curveball hits you, because for some of you, it's already hit. For some, it's coming. But when that hits you, I want you to remember Motivation Monday. I want you to think about me, and I want you to instantly start thinking about, all right, I need 2 cups of sugar. I need 2 cups of water. I'm going to take these lemons and I'm going to turn them into the tastiest lemonade ever, because that's going to mentally shift how you're looking at the situation. It's going to mentally shift how you interact with that person, because look, they're hurting on the other end of this thing too, right? The person who is having to call you and tell you, hey, I'm going to put my home search on hold because now maybe rates have made it unaffordable for me, or maybe I lost my job at one of these tech companies, or hey, I'm going to pull out of my listing because something just happened in my life. You've got to be there for them. But I also want you to focus on, how do we shift our efforts? How do you as an entrepreneur take those lemons that you're being handed and get into lemonade mode, right? Because you have a choice. You can say, you know what? This is sour. This is terrible. I'm going to be upset about this. I'm going to react negatively to this. This is the closing I've been waiting for. This is the client I've been waiting for. I want you to take the other approach, and I want you to instantly lock into, all right, these are the lemons that RP told me were coming. I'm getting into lemonade mode, and we're going to go run through a wall. I'm going to go hold an extra open house. I'm going to go door knock a neighborhood right now. I'm going to do something in my business that is the equivalent of adding the sugar and the water to those lemons to make an amazing tasting lemonade. And that is the visualization. And that is everybody's assignment for the week, is as those lemons come to you, you make the personal decision that you're lemonade making, not taking the sour lemons.
That's so important to really think about, because we're in a business where it's already a high rejection business. We hear a lot of no's. We hear a lot of obstacles. We hear a lot of things that just make the day somewhat daunting as it is, right? And so then to have these macro things happening, it can really make you feel like you just want to give up, like you feel like you can't beat that, but you can. And to your point, if you look at those things as an opportunity to then say, okay, how do I shift things a little bit? How do I spin this to a positive for me? Like this may have been meant for a negative, or it could be meant as a negative if I just give into it. But if I think about how to spin this conversation, maybe look at like an expert for my client, or guide them a little bit differently because I understand what's happening in the market, and now they can make a better informed decision. Maybe that spins off a referral. Maybe that spins off something that you just necessarily always can't see. And so that's the mentality that you have to have. How do I take this curveball, this lemon, and then turn it into lemonade by putting positive action towards it? And we get it. Trust me, it doesn't feel great. It sometimes really feels very demoralizing. However, you will always have to face that in your business. And so if you get used to thinking about it that way, coming across obstacles and then figuring out how to, correct them or get past them, you will start to build resilience. You'll still start to build confidence towards those things, and it won't feel as negative. It's never going to feel great, but it won't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to give up. And I know there's a lot of people who could feel that way, especially as it's connected to their livelihood and, their financial well-being and those things. So thank you, Robert, for taking the time to explain that. We know that you've gone through so many market shifts. You've gone through so many different businesses that have had massive curveballs thrown at it, and you've always figured out a way to turn it into a positive. And so that was something that we always said, like, hey, this guy's got the ability to look around corners, man. And it's really not that. You're just taking that quote unquote obstacle and turning it back into momentum that's going to help you achieve your goal.
These are obstacles for us right now too. Like there are plans we had as a company this year that we've got to look at and understand and adjust. Like, how does the war in the Middle East, how does this delayed boomsday, how does a delayed spring buying season, how does record cancellation of contracts, if that ends up being on the table, how do these things impact us as a company? And so we're right here in the trenches with you, so we're coming from a place of we're all in this together. And again, there's going to be markets that are affected. There's going to be markets that are unaffected. I just thought it was a great opportunity today to dig into the mental side of this, because only you can decide how you're going to react to that. And I remember this was a lesson I got. I think it was like my senior year of high school. I will never forget this. My English teacher's name was Hazel Haley. She was at Lakeland High School. She was like record for the oldest teacher. She'd been there. I mean, she was in like her 80s. And I remember this lady telling me, like, only you decide how you're going to react to something. Her example was, when a little boy or a little girl breaks up with you and breaks your heart, or something goes wrong in your life, only you decide how you're going to react to that. And you have complete control over how you react to that. And it may not feel like it in the moment. And we're emotional creatures, and this is part of what makes us amazing as human beings, but we do have a choice. And again, that piece of advice that she gave me, almost 30 years ago now, has just stuck with me. And it really shaped a lot of who I became as an entrepreneur, because when you realize that, you say, what, only I'm going to, I decide how I'm going to react to this. Am I going to go get upset? Am I going to give up? Am I going to, go cry? Am I going to shut it down? Am I going to need to unplug and lose it? Or am I going to buckle up? And for me, that later in life, that lemons to lemonade thing just was the next extension of that advice I got from Hazel Haley in senior high school. Because for me, that became the visualization. All right, this is lemons. I see it, but I know all I need to do is add the sugar and the water and the ice, and I can turn these lemons into ice cold lemonade. And my brain would instantly then go to, okay, in this situation, what's the equivalent of that sugar, water, and ice? And that has really helped me push through obstacles and things. And again, obstacles we're facing right now that we're going to push through as a company because of these shifts, because of these changes in the marketing landscape. And so again, I want to share that with everybody. And then again, just to kind of dive a little deeper and like, why is this happening, right? We've talked a lot about inflation is the biggest fear right now for the Fed. The Fed has a dual mandate. And so I would say traditionally over the last, I want to say like 20 years, the primary driver of interest rates has more been employment. So as jobs reports would come in higher or lower, as unemployment reports would come in higher or lower, that was the primary driver of interest rates. But post-COVID, because inflation got so out of control, the Fed is now more focused on inflation than anything else. And so even though the war and the flight to safety and some of these manufacturing disruptions and all that are happening will probably have a negative impact on employment, right? And we know right now that AI is having a negative impact on employment in certain sectors. The Fed's focus on inflation is front and center. And there are actually right now, remember, I've got the Bloomberg terminal. I've got this big mortgage servicing portfolio that I have to keep an eye on from a rates perspective. And so I stay in touch with like what's going on behind the scenes with the traders, the bond traders, the fixed income traders. And there are actually traders right now who think we may even see a Fed rate increase this year if the war drags on for too long. I want you to think about how crazy that is. We went from 2 weeks ago, a sub 4 10-year treasury, mortgage rates solidly in the fives, talking about how effective the $200 billion worth of Fannie and Freddie buying was to lower those mortgage spreads, to now we're staring down a potential Fed increase. Now, this is not a super popular opinion, but there are traders right now who are pricing in the need for a rate increase from the Fed in a reaction to inflation readings, because if oil gets out of control because of the war and fertilizer and certain other manufacturing inputs, and that drives prices higher and inflation starts to get out of control, you're going to have this weird situation where jobs aren't great and the economy isn't great, but the Fed is potentially raising short-term rates to combat inflation. It'll be one of the craziest things we've ever seen in my career. I'm really hoping that's not the outcome, but it's a possibility right now, because that is the thing the Fed cares about more than anything else is inflation. And the inflation fears related to this war are very real. And the longer the war goes on, the more real they become. So we have to educate our consumers. We have to talk to our clients about that. We have to let them know, when this first broke out 2 weeks ago, we talked about the whipsaw. We talked about the potential for kind of a quick reversal, stay in the game, be ready. And I still think that's good advice. But we also now have to consider this outcome where rates do maybe get worse and stay higher for longer. And it's all going to come down to the inflation impact of the war in the Middle East.
That's interesting to think about, because again, as we were trying to build momentum and we're like, okay, this is potentially the end of the line here. We're going to start seeing these things. And then that gets moved out. Not only does it impact your business, but it can, like you said, it can feel pretty sour. But one thing I would like to just kind of reiterate is that, right now is a great time to even have that conversation as a positive. Hey, listen, rates may continue to go up because of the uncertainty that's happening over here and this tragic thing that's happening on this side. So lock in today and let's get you inside of a home. If rates do come down, like you say, Robert, all the time, the mortgage is the most powerful financial instrument on the consumer side, meaning that if rates go down, they can refinance at a lower rate. But if it goes up, they're protected at where they are today. And so have that conversation of a sense of urgency, because rates could go up. We do see that starting to happen a little bit. You're starting to see that early indications. And so if that's the case and you help someone lock in today and get their home, they're going to really appreciate the fact that you helped them, accomplish their goal in a way that maybe most people would not have advised them to do. So very much appreciate that guidance. Okay, we're going to switch from here. We're going to go over to different headlines. We're going to go to the Wall Street Journal and some awards, DESI awards. So I know that we have that coming in the future. Can you give us some timelines on when we can expect to see that?
So one of the shifts that we're making is we're going to delay putting the DESI awards into the newspaper, because I think it's an amazing opportunity for us to boost people's business and spike it. And we don't want to try to do that in the middle of all this mess and noise around the uncertainty. And we don't want to be surrounded by all of these negative housing headlines. And so that's the bad news. We're going to delay that until April, because again, we want to get through this negative headline cycle. And the good news is we are adding USA Today in addition to the Wall Street Journal. So we're going to be putting those DESI recognition awards while we're postponing them to April. We've got our deals worked out with both the Wall Street Journal and USA Today. When we do that, we're going to announce everybody so you can all go down and grab your local USA Today copy in your market to see your name in there if you're one of our DESI winners. And so again, really excited to do that. We think it's a great way to recognize our LPT agents who performed at the top of their game in a zip code or a city or a state. And so all of those will be in USA Today. Our state and national recipients will be in the Wall Street Journal. We're going to run both of those in April now. Originally, it was going to be in March. We were waiting to see if these headlines were going to subside. We were waiting to see if things were going to get back to normal. But at this point, we're going to postpone that to April. We'll make sure everybody knows. So I think it's going to be an awesome day for every LPT agent to go down to the local, wherever you get your newspaper, local gas station, local grocery store, whatever it is, and pick up that USA Today and be able to take a picture of your name in there, put it on social media. Like, really excited about that. But again, we don't want to waste that. We don't want to do it at the wrong time. And so again, this is an example of the shifts and the moves that we have to make to be strategic Because again, we don't want that to be drowned out. We don't want that next to a headline that says mortgage rates are at the 7-year high or 7-month high, or hey, housing getting crushed by rates. And so really excited about that. And again, we're going to be strategic and we're going to push that into April.
All right. Okay. All right. So then we are going to switch over real quick to some training. So as you know, you want to continue to increase your craft, work on your craft, hone your craft so that you are the best for your agents, for the consumers that you serve. And so we've got SpringCon. You talked about that. That's pretty much sold out. We're trying to see if we can get a couple more seats there. But we do have FallCon, our large conference that's coming up in October. And there's been a lot of questions around when it's happening and dates. So walk us through what we've got going for FallCon.
Yeah. So last week, we announced that FallCon is going to be at the RP Funding Center. I shared that story and kind of my self-limiting beliefs, and really excited about that. October 6th through the 8th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So 3 full days at the RP Funding Center in October. We're going to be giving even more details next week. Over the next 2-3 weeks, we're going to continue to bring out more and more details. But remember, we're taking over the entire building. It's going to be bigger exhibit hall space, 2 times the breakout space. We've got our 5,000 plus seat main stage, a 2,200 seat Grand Prix style theater. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We're taking over the entire building. And so we're going to release a couple of interesting details today. Tickets are going to go on sale next week. All right. So today I'm going to give you some high level understanding of how we're thinking about tickets. We've got this really cool buddy pass concept that we're going to be doing. And again, centrally located between Tampa and Orlando. We think it's going to be an absolute win for everybody. Okay. So one of the cool things we're doing this year, and this was an idea that kind of came about last year. We weren't able to do it because the building wouldn't sustain it. We were stuck in this hotel with limited space. And now with taking over the entire RP Funding Center, where I have a lot of control over what we can do and the branding and using all the space, we're going to be able to do this concept. And so as an early bird benefit, right? So people who buy their ticket early, the idea here is once we sell a certain percentage of tickets, we will stop the early bird and the tickets will no longer come with a buddy pass. But the idea is you can bring any person who is not an LPT agent with you on this buddy pass. All right. So this can be a child, right? Like you got a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid who wants to learn about real estate, like bring them, right? You've got a spouse who's not in the industry, bring them, right? We want to make this about exposing more people to real estate. You can also invite agents from other brokerages, right? And so the idea here is if you're an LPT agent, you need to have your own ticket, right? You need to buy your own ticket, but each of those tickets, as long as you buy them during the early bird window before a certain number of tickets sell, will come with a buddy pass that you can bring any person with you who is not an LPT agent. And so there's 3 tiers of tickets that we're going to get into in just a minute, but the buddy passes match the tier that you buy. So if you buy a general admission ticket, you get a general admission buddy pass so that your buddy can go with you to everything in the general admission main stage stuff. If you buy a certification ticket, your buddy pass will get what we're calling a certification observer buddy pass, right? So they can attend all of the certification sessions that I'll be teaching. Now, they won't get the workbooks and they will not be officially certified at the end, but we want them to be able to hang out with you and be exposed. So you can share your workbooks with them while in class together. You will get your certification. Your buddy will not be officially certified at the end. But again, a great way to expose non-LPT agents, friends who maybe are thinking about real estate, your children, and everything to that. All right. The certifications I'm going to announce next week. I'm going to be doing some more stuff around AI. We're going to be doing a fantastic certification around listing marketing. Got really cool ideas this year for the certifications. We'll be announcing those next week when tickets officially go on sale. I'll talk about that more on next week's Motivation Monday. So if you buy a certification ticket during the early bird window, then your buddy pass gets a certification observer. All right. And then finally, our VIP ticket. If you buy a VIP ticket during the early bird window, you get a VIP buddy pass, which will give them access to the VIP lounge so they can hang out with you. Now, they will not get the VIP swag bag, right? They won't get the LPTA sweater that I've got on that's going to be in that swag bag, but they will be able to attend with you, right? Because the idea is we want your buddy to be able to go to everything you're going to. Originally when we talked about this, we were going to just do like a GA buddy pass. I'm like, you know what? Somebody can't bring their kid and then be like, hey, I'm going to go into Robert's certification for the next 2 hours today and 2 hours tomorrow, and you can't go with me. And so we really wanted to figure that out. And so whatever level you buy, as long as it's during the early bird window. And the early bird windows will probably close at different times. My gut is that the VIP early bird will go the fastest because there's the least number of those, because we have limited space in the VIP lounges and stuff. And then the certifications will go second. And then finally the GA, where we have more room, we can leave the early bird window open later. But if you buy in the early bird window, you will get one of these buddy passes where the person can experience the conference at the same level that you do. They just won't get the VIP gifts and they won't get the actual workbooks and certifications, but they can be with you the entire conference. And again, this can be any person who is not an LPT agent. If you're an LPT agent, you need to buy your own ticket. All right. So what do you think, Hodge? I think it's a pretty cool concept. I think it's going to allow us to expose a lot of people to LPT, whether that's agents at other brokerages or people in your life who maybe are thinking about real estate or interested in real estate. I love the idea of like bringing children, right? Like children in that kind of mid-adult range or who are old enough to understand it. I think this is a really cool way for us to share the LPT ecosystem with a lot of great people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right about that. I love that it's so diverse, that so many different types of people can come, whether it's someone maybe who's interested in LPT and they want a look and you're going to give them that opportunity, or maybe it's a family member, like you said, who's got a interest in real estate and they want to have some exposure to it, or maybe just a spouse who you guys are going to hang out at nighttime, whatever. We love that it's just so inclusive, and then it gets everybody the opportunity to come together at such an affordable rate. Like, I think it's just another way that we think about trying to encourage you to step out of your comfort zone a bit, dive in, hone your craft, and make that the most comfortable possible, because we do know it is an investment and we want that to be something that moves the needle forward for you. So I love that. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to see everyone in person. That's always my funnest time, because again, we're always virtual. I'm only seeing you. I can't see anybody else, but we get text messages and calls all the time, but to see you in person, we love it. So I would love to see your family members, friends, as many people as we can meet. We love it. Okay. So pricing, talk to me about pricing. You've done an amazing job here.
Yes, let's get the pricing up there. I did see a question. So yes, the VIP includes the certification, and the certification includes the GA. You get everything below for the ticket above, and your buddy gets those too. So if you're on the VIP ticket, your VIP buddy pass has VIP access. It has certification observer access. And so our VIP ticket is the same price as last year and includes the certifications. Our certification ticket, which also includes the GA, is the same price as last year, because you're getting those workbooks, you're getting those certifications. The big win this year is the general admission ticket, which will be everything except for the maybe 6 hours of certification training, maybe 8 hours of certification training. You guys, I know I like to give it all. The GA ticket is going to have full access to main stage, everything except for those certification sessions and those VIP lounges. And we're doing that for an amazing $299. And if you look at all of the other brokerages out there and what they are charging for their conference tickets, $299 is absolutely incredible. It's because of the size and scale and my relationship with the RP Funding Center that we're able to do this. Hotels are incredibly affordable in Lakeland. This is going to be the best opportunity for everyone to come be a part of FallCon, no matter what their budget is. And remember that $299 is 2 tickets. That's you plus your buddy pass. So for $299, you plus a family member, you plus a friend, are going to be able to come be a part of the main stage and the expo and everything amazing going on. The certifications I'm going to unveil next week. There will be an AI related certification. There will be a listing marketing expert certification. It'll be the workbooks just like last year. I think anybody who went through that certification process with me last year understands just how valuable that knowledge is. And so the $299, you're paying to be a part of the conference. You're paying to be around your LPT family. You've got that buddy pass. The certification, you are paying for access to that knowledge, for those workbooks, for that certification, that certificate at the end that says, hey, I am this new AI certification. I am this new listing marketing certification. I don't want to give too much away until next week when we really go deep on what those look like. And then finally, the VIP ticket includes all of it, the certifications, again, the VIP buddy pass, there'll be VIP swag bag, there'll be a VIP dinner, a couple of things there. So this is how we're thinking about it. It's not the same certifications as last year. New certifications coming out. And again, I'll be unveiling those next week. So $299, Hodge. The biggest thing we heard last year was just that we only did the certification track last year because we had limited space. The $1,099 was just out of reach for a lot of people. When we look at the landscape, that's pretty much what the competing brokerages are charging for their tickets, right? And we went a step further and said, you know what? We're going to put these certifications in here. We're going to put knowledge and training that is worth thousands of dollars into this ticket, but we still understand there's some people that just didn't have that in their budget. Things are tough. And so this year we have that general admission ticket for $299. The VIP, only the VIPs get the swag bag, the LPTA sweatshirt that I'm wearing today, that it's in the VIP swag bag only. So again, that's in that highest ticket. Again, I'm going to go deep next week on everything you get with the benefits. Like there's going to be this VIP dinner. These are the VIP lounges. We're going to make sure everybody understands what they're getting at each level. Today, we just wanted to kind of give a general idea of these are the buckets. Be ready next week when tickets go on sale. But I wanted everybody to know that we have this super accessible $299. You can bring a friend ticket. The cool thing there too is you bring a friend that can help with the accommodation cost, right? Like
That's right.
You and a friend split a hotel room, right? Maybe you tell the friend, hey, you're coming to this conference with me. You're going to pick up the hotel room. I'm going to pick up the ticket because I get the buddy pass. We really wanted to make this as available to everyone as possible.
And I would say, man, like last year when we went through our feedback session and we were listening to all the different things that agents wanted us to try to solve for, it was, hey, how can we make parking cheaper? How can we make the price of a ticket more affordable? How can we make, the rooms more affordable? And so you and the team really did a lot of work to make that happen, even changing venues so that we could accommodate the most amount of people as possible and it be as frictionless as possible for you to come and be in community with your other LPT entrepreneurs and agents and come to see us. And then of course, have that amazing education to help you grow your business and continue to stay ahead of the curve, because we know some of those things that you're talking about is how to prepare for what the new environment is going to look like. A lot of that is AI and the disruption around that. You're seeing in different industries, as you talked about it earlier. How is that going to affect us? How can we utilize it as momentum instead of something that is, that's going to hurt you? So those things are important to stay ahead of. And so giving people access to all of those amazing tools is just so incredible. So we're so grateful for that. You had to pull quite a few strings to make that happen and take over an entire building. But we appreciate that, leveraging that relationship for our benefit.
One of the details I will give away today is parking is included with those ticket prices. So that's a big lift from last year. I think the hotel last year was like $40 a day for parking. Yeah. So all of a sudden you were $120 in just for the 3 days worth of parking. So those ticket prices all include parking for the 3 days. People who are just going to the free expo will have to pay something for parking. I haven't decided how much yet, but parking will be included for everybody who buys one of those tickets. Again, which is going to be fantastic. And to the hotel rooms, I think last year the hotel rooms were $350, $400. They're going to be half that, this year. So just a lot of efficiencies we picked up by moving the conference to the RP Funding Center. Again, it's a move I had to make and a card I had to play, and I was happy to play it for everybody. And I think we're going to have an absolutely amazing time. Again, next week we'll be unveiling more details on what all exactly is included in the VIP ticket. What are the certifications? Because again, we know you've got some choices to make. I think the $299 ticket with a buddy pass is an absolute no-brainer. And then next week, I'm going to go deep on what the certifications are. You can make a decision if you want to, spend that extra money to get those certifications that I'll be teaching, or if you want to go all in for the VIP ticket. So that's what next week's Motivation Monday is going to be going deep on. But just know the $299 is including parking and everything. And I saw a question. Yes, RP Funding is my mortgage company. We don't do business with LPT agents. We do refi mortgages and we do mortgage servicing. But yes, the RP Funding Center is my company. I put my name on that building almost 10 years ago. We're coming up on that anniversary. There's a graduation speech video I gave when I first did that. It floats around in some of the LPT presentations, but it's going to be really excited to host everybody in a building that means a whole lot to me. I graduated high school in that building when it was called the Lakeland Civic Center. I'm old. How long ago was that? It was 1998. So, a long time ago, almost 20 years ago, I graduated high school in that building. I guess almost 30 years ago, I graduated high school in that building. And then 10 years ago, named it the RP Funding Center. And now this year, we're going to have the amazing LPT Fall Con at the RP Funding Center. So really, really special to me. And again, proud that we can do that as a family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, we are about to end the show. Any final words? We know that this week wasn't so positive.
Yeah.
What are we thinking about going into this week?
Keep your mindset, lemonade, right? Be looking for the lemons, be ready for that that curveball that you're going to get, that curveball because of rates, because maybe somebody didn't lock in with the lender when they should have, maybe somebody who decides to cancel that contract or pull that home off the market. Be ready for some lemons to come at you. And I want you to instantly start thinking about, how am I going to turn this into lemonade? How am I going to power through? I'm not going to let this affect me. I'm going to make lemonade. And you have lots of great tools, right? Instead of sugar and water, you've got power packs and active marketing plans and 9 critical questions and, just listed and just sold power mail and all these amazing tools that we bring together at LPT. You've got the training calendar. You've got SpringCon coming up. You've got everything Motivation Monday. So those are your ingredients. And so when that curveball comes to you, I want you to instantly flip into, I'm going to make lemonade. And that's how we're all going to win. So make it a great week. We'll see you back here next week with more details on FallCon. Tickets will go on sale next week inside of LPT Connect. And we'll talk about that on next week, Motivation Monday. Have a great week, everybody.